Let's talk about the basics of keeping warm when it's cold. If it's cold, you're going to need some thermal underlayers on. So invest in some thermals which fit underneath your bike gear. And ideally have some bike gear that actually has an extra thermal layer in it as well. So most winter motorcycle gear has a thermal underlayer that either zips in or zips out. So you can have it in or out depending on the weather. Try to also invest in a windproof snood or neck warmer. Windproof makes such a difference. If it's only a fleece neck warmer, you'll find that the wind will come through it and you'll get a really chilly neck. So try to get one that's windproof. Wearing an additional waterproof but breathable jacket over the top of your motorcycle jacket will also add as an extra windproofing layer, and I find it makes quite a difference when it's cold to have an extra waterproof jacket over the top. Plus, if it happens to rain, you're already waterproof. Try to make sure it's breathable so that you don't end up with lots of condensation inside your jacket. How do we keep our feet warm? Lots of people struggle with really cold feet. So personally, I buy boots that are two sizes too big. I put insoles in them, and then I wear 2 pairs of socks, a thin pair and a really thick pair. I also have invested more recently in heated insoles. Kai's make them, and I don't know if any other companies make them, but Kai's definitely do. And they've been a game changer for me on those really cold days. The heated insoles have made such a difference. But if you can't afford your heated insoles, then you're going to need to have enough space in your boots to wear proper thick socks to allow the air to trap around your feet so that your feet can actually stay warm. If you've got lots of socks on and your feet are packed into your boots and there's no room for the air to circulate, you're actually going to have colder feet than if you allow them to have a little bit of wiggle room. The wiggle room is actually keeping your feet warm. Being cold and wet is probably one of the worst things that can happen in winter time, so try to invest in good quality waterproof gear and buy multiple pairs of gloves that are warm and effective, because even your waterproof gloves will become waterlogged. Any pair of gloves is not waterproof, even if they say they are. You will get wet hands, and once they're cold, it's miserable. So on the wet days, I have 3 pairs of heated motorcycle gloves with me at all times. And that's because I'm out for 2 hours in a row, usually, for each lesson that I do. And usually it's 3 lessons a day in the winter time. So if I do lesson number 1 and my gloves are absolutely sodden, then I'll move on to gloves number 2. And that stops me from becoming miserable and cold. And your fingers can really hurt when they get cold. So try to prepare for bad weather before the bad weather hits. And the heated gloves make an immense difference compared to just using heated grips, because the gloves heat the backs of your hands whilst the grips heat the palms of your hands, and it makes such a difference to not having that horrible biting cold eating into your fingers, which can really be very, very painful. Heated gloves have just transformed my riding for winter time, and it's always a sad day when the gloves give up the ghost and I have to get some more. I've actually bulk bought as many of these gloves as I can in the correct size, in the model that I like, every time they come up on eBay, because inevitably the wires will break because they're in such use. That's why they break, and I don't want to be left without them, because they're amazing. It can also help to have a balaclava or at least a snood over your head in your helmet, because that will help to keep your head warm. And again, if you put layer upon layer upon layer on yourself on your clothing layers, if you don't leave enough room for the air to get trapped between them, you'll actually be colder. I can remember wearing 12 layers once on my top half and I was still cold. And that was because it was just too many, and they weren't the right kind of layers. A down jacket is especially helpful, so a thin lightweight down jacket can be quite useful underneath your main jacket, because that will help to trap the warmth in. and I tend to wear one over the top of my heated vest. So I have a heated body warmer on, and then I tend to put a down jacket over the top of that, and that's toasty. And then my main motorcycle jacket over that, and then a waterproof over the top, and that's perfect for me. Heated clothing is an absolute game changer when it's cold. A heated body warmer and heated gloves, and then my heated insoles have just transformed cold weather riding into something that's actually really quite pleasant. In order to be able to use all this heated clothing, the bikes need to be fitted with a power supply lead that is appropriate and designed for the heated clothing, with the appropriate level of fuse in it as well. And that's simple. It just connects onto the bike's battery. When it's not in use, it doesn't draw any power, and when it is in use, it only draws power when you're connected, and that's when the bike is running. You don't want to sit there with your heated gear on with the bike not running, because you will drain the battery. Here's the heated cable on the bike. Simple 12 volt connector straight onto the battery. When I have my gloves on, there's a Y lead that goes through my jacket, and then the two connector cables come out of the sleeves, a little bit like when you're a kid. Now I have this all very well set up. It does make up for a lot of wires, but I have it all very well set up with a heat controller in my pocket of my body warmer, which I will show you. So that's me plugging in the input into the body warmer. Okay, and this extra wire here is for my insoles. That's got its own separate heat controller, which isn't waterproof, so if it rains I have to try and tuck it in. If you don't have the heat controller for the insoles, your feet will burn, because they'll go on to maximum, and the maximum setting is really hot. I think I only use it on the low setting. Very rarely have I even put it up onto medium. So just beware, you don't want to be using heated insoles unless you've got a heat controller for them. And the heated insoles have their separate Y lead connector that goes down through the trousers, and it all is routed through this single heat controller in the body warmer. There's two types of the heat controller. In fact, I mix gerbing with Kais. The connectors just about fit each other. The gerbing ones are slightly bigger than the Kais, or the Kais are slightly bigger than the gerbing, I can't remember. Either way, with a little bit of jimmying, you can make it fit and you can make it work, and it does work very well. So my gloves are gerbing gloves because they make them in small enough sizes for me. The Kais ones never went small enough, even if I bought the 2XS ones. The body warmer is Kais, and the heated insoles are Kais. You can also get trousers and all sorts of things, but I don't really need that.